All right, friends, welcome to Q&A Friday here on the Peak Performer Community Space. I'm Larry McGuire. Welcome. If you've not been here before, every Friday I endeavour to get here and discuss, albeit a monologue, a question that is pertinent to you. Maybe it's one of a number of clients that I'm seeing. Uh, Regardless, it will remain anonymous, the source of the question. You might send me a question on email. You might drop a query on a post that I write. You might be working with me one to one. Whatever it is, it might spark the intention in me to maybe elaborate further on the topic for everybody. And of course, your anonymity will be kept intact. If you happen to share something with me, a question that you might have regarding your career, your business, your work, your personal life, whatever it happens to be, we're on a pursuit, so to speak, the pursuit of better performance in our work, finding work that's meaningful, has purpose, that we have energy for, that we're not simply doing as a means to an end. That's the name of the game. That's what motivates me to be here. And so, in that process, we're trying to figure it out. We've got lots of questions. Ultimately, it all boils down to one question in particular: what am I doing here? Where do I belong? And so on. All right. So there's, depending on how we approach it, there's different facets to the question. Okay. So this week, oh, incidentally, this Q&A bit here is only for you. Doesn't go any further. Doesn't go to YouTube. Doesn't go to LinkedIn. Doesn't go anywhere else except here in the community space. So it's exclusive to you. If you want to get this every Friday and you find value in it, well then this will be here to you of a Friday evening or morning, whatever location you happen to be in. I'm in Dublin in Ireland, so I'm GMT +1, or International Standard Time, I think is what it's called. Anyway, it's now currently 10 minutes to 8 on a Friday evening. So let's get cracking. Usually this will be about 15 minutes long. All right, so what prompted this topic today, finding direction, is a question that came in from a client of mine that I was working with today. And they were asking about their career. We were meeting on a regular basis. They work with a large corporate with a couple of thousand employees. They're part of a group. They go in, they're doing their work and so on. And this client of mine was feeling a little bit of disconnect between the work that we're doing and maybe a certain degree of uncertainty about whether or not they belong there, how they should behave, what's expected of them. They were finding it difficult to cope with the stress and anxiety, not their own stress and anxiety, the stress and anxiety of their immediate line manager when a superior is on the scene and is prompting everybody to be on their toes, maybe more so than they ordinarily would. So there was a bit of a challenge around that, figuring that out. And that's the nature of the game for people when they enter the workforce for the first time. They're trying to find their feet. They're trying to understand how this thing works. And when we enter the workforce for the first time, or indeed we change jobs, there's a period where we're trying to figure it out. What are the unwritten rules here? What are the norms of behavior that I have to adhere to? So you'll get your job spec, you'll get your do's and your don'ts, and the details of the job that you're expected to do, and that's fine. But invariably, there are lots of other rules that nobody writes down on a page, and you have to figure it out, like figuring out the behavior. Why is this line manager freaking out because the boss is over from the UK? Why can we not just carry on with our work as we normally do? Why do we all have to be on edge? And that's a reasonable question to ask. And perhaps this young man is beginning to gain some insight into how the workplace operates. So we had a good bit of a chat about goals and ambitions and where we belong and all that kind of stuff. And I offered him a couple of tools, a couple of worksheets that I've prepared. I have a bunch of them prepared, and they're available here on Peak Performer to help him find an anchor in the world and in work, in and outside of work. When we're trying to find out where we belong in terms of work, we want to find something that we're engaged in, that comes from an intrinsic motivation rather than somebody cracking the whip, or the prospects of a reward. So reward and punishment being contingencies on our behavior. So we do what we do in order to avoid a punishment, or in order to obtain a reward or a prize or something. And that's grand, but it doesn't have a long-term impact. In fact, we run out of steam if that's what we're relying on. So in order to be effective, to be productive, effective, empowered, feel a sense of volition and control over the work that we do, it has to come from in here, intrinsically motivated. So we discussed that as well. And as a part of this process of trying to find an anchor in the world, in a world that's constantly changing, we have to find the anchor. So where is something to put our anchor into? And so where is this material that we can anchor ourselves to? Well, it's in our values. And before we set any goals for ourselves in our career, or in our business, in our work, we must anchor ourselves in our own value system. What do we value the most? And so what I'm going to share with you now, and what's at the bottom of this post, is a values setting worksheet, or establishing personal values worksheet, and also a goal setting worksheet. So the establishing values worksheet is the first thing we do. We identify the values that are most meaningful to us, and these values are few, but they provide us with a base, with you could say, another analogy, a North Star, this is often referred to, a base for making decisions about our work and so on. So that's the first thing. And then moving on from that, once we know our values, we can make decisions about the goals we want to set, the timeline around that goal, whether it's achievable or not, and so on. So there's two things I wanted to share with you this evening. One is the establishing values worksheet, and the second one is the goal setting worksheet. So let me share my screen and we'll move on to that. So you can see here there's a bunch of stuff. I use Canva to create these documents, and how I create these. Some of these are for free on the Peak Performer, in the Peak Performer community, and others are part of packs that you can, I think they're about 19 quid, and you can purchase those. But these are a few I have prepared, and what I want to get into is move a few things around here on the screen. The personal values worksheet, first of all. So that's what it looks like. You can download it from today's post. And a little bit of bump about me. A little bit of content on why it's important to establish your values, or to recognize your values, because it's reasonable to suggest that these values exist by virtue of being alive, even if we don't recognize them or we don't write them down. They tend to exist in us. It's where our moral and ethical standards lie, you could say. And I've got some references to supporting literature that backs some of this stuff up. Defining and recording your personal values can lead to greater self-awareness. Research by Sheldon and King provide more detail on that. Goal setting, emotion, and motivation. As I mentioned, personal values can serve as a source of motivation to help us set meaningful goals. Hence, establishing our values is the first protocol. DC and Ryan, 1985. Decision making and ethical position, or ethical and moral position on a topic. Establishing and recording personal values can assist in ethical decision making if we're in our business and we have to make a decision about, do I let people go? Do I hire new people? Do I go into this market? What disruption will it cause to my staff, to the general public by pursuing this new market? How will that affect others? I've got a decision to make. Well, what do I value most? And the values will help inform the decision that you subsequently make. Really important for that. Can reduce stress when there's some ambiguity in the situation, where there's major change or major flux in the market or in the workplace. If you know your values, if you have them established and you rely on them and you know what they are and you know where to go to find them, well, decision making might be easier, and it can reduce the stress that we feel from being pulled between one possible solution and another. Identity and self-esteem. Personal values are a key component to our identity. Research by Crocker and Park, 2004, highlights the significance of values in shaping self-identity. Building relationships. Rusbolt, 1998, shows that similarity in values is positively correlated with relationship satisfaction and longevity. Recording one's values can help identify compatible partners and form stronger social connections, not only in loving relationships, but in business relationships, workplace relationships, and so on. So, really important starting point. If we want to find work that we love and that engages us and turns us on and that we have lots of energy for, well, our value system helps guide that decision. So this sheet lists a number of values that you may find applicable to your work and life. They may not be applicable, and if they're not, well, then just breeze over those. But you're being asked to select, let's say the first one on the list, recognition. If that's important to you, highly important to you, and if it's of value and interest to you all the time, well, then you'll click this box where it says always. If it's often valuable or of interest to you, well, that's what you'll select. And as you go down through the list of values on the left-hand side, it covers about a page and a half here. You'll have either always, often, sometimes, seldom, or never selected for that particular value. And by the time you get to the bottom, you'll have maybe between 5 and 10 values that are always valuable and of interest and important to you. And so what you'll do is, when you have those, when you've identified those, you'll write them in the box down here. There's space for 10, and you'll have a maximum of 10. 10 is probably a little bit too many, or probably too many. You want maybe 5, 6, maybe 7, and you'll order them in terms of importance. So if you selected independence as something that is always valuable and important to you, and of the values that you select as always valuable and important, it's number 1. Well, then you're going to put that in here in the number 1 box, and here you'll have your list of values 1 to 10 that are most important to you. The most important one listed as number 1. So you get the picture. This isn't something that, it might take a bit of time, but in selecting these values, you want to whiz down through them as quickly as is necessary. You don't want to ponder them. You may need to think about some of them, but the ones that are most valuable to you, you'll find that you'll pick them straight away, that you don't have to think about it. So once you've established your 10 listed here, you're raring to go. Now you can set goals for yourself and use these 10 values as a means to guide that decision making. So moving on to goals then. This goal setting worksheet here is, let me see if I got the right one. Again, a bit of bump, blah, blah. Okay, you probably, I believe this is the correct one. So you probably have come across the acronym SMART. Goals that are SMART tend to be achievable more so than those that are not. So SMART stands for specific, meaningful. SMART in this particular approach to SMART goal setting stands for specific, meaningful, adaptive, realistic, and time-bound. So specific, let's take running a 5K, for example, because it's easy. Well, it's easy for me to convey because I like to do a bit of running. So if I was to say, for example, I want to run a 5K in under 23 minutes, is that specific enough? Yes, it is. I'm currently running a 5K in 25 minutes. It doesn't seem, it is specific that I want to achieve that goal, that time goal, based on that specific measure of pace, and and improve it by 2 minutes. So it's specific, right? Meaningful. Yeah, it's meaningful for me because health and fitness and staying fit is important, especially as we get older. And if we have if we're working out and training regularly, well, then we can stay fit and keep our minds fit and so on. So it's meaningful to me. Adaptive. Does it? This goal help me take my life forward in a direction, as far as I can predict, that's likely to improve the quality of my life? Yes, I do, because if I'm fit and I'm healthy, I can do what I want to do, and by the time I'm 80, I'm not ending up in a wheelchair. So, or needing help to get around the place. I can get around myself, and please God, I'll still be running. So, I can adapt, and I'm allowed to adapt within that. Is it realistic? Yeah, it's realistic to me. I'm running 25 minutes at the minute, so I should be able to cut that back by 2 minutes with the right training. And is it time bound? Well, I should set a limit on it. So let's say within the next 3 months, I want to cut 2 minutes off my time. So in that sense, my goal is specific, meaningful, adaptive, realistic, and time bound. And so I can power on. So if you want to refer back to the personal values list, there's one in here for sports and fitness, whereas exercising and sports. So that would be always important to me, because I do it probably 4 or 5 times a week. So it's something I'm always thinking about, regardless of whether I'm working or whether I'm with family or what I'm doing. I'm thinking, how am I going to fit in a training session today? And that's just what I like to do. So it's important to me. And so I can set a goal, a smart goal based on that. This particular sheet goes into various domains of life, and asks us, or gives us the means by which to set goals in these different areas. They may not be applicable to you right now, but for those that are applicable, you can begin to set goals in those areas. Family relations, marriage, intimate relationships, parenting, friendships, social life, career and employment, educational, personal growth, development, recreation, fun, leisure, spirituality, citizenship, environment, community, health, practice, and well-being. Okay, and there's a little sheet here for you to work to. You can write the domain of life that this particular goal is related to. You can have an immediate, short-term, medium-term, and a long-term goal. Long-term elements to the goal that you can achieve. And then some final thoughts on the nature of goal setting. And there's a quote here from Viktor Frankl: "Man's search for meaning, an area for your notes," and some links and stuff, and references here at the end. I should say that with these worksheets, most of them that I produce are free, but if you need assistance with them, by all means, give me a shout, and I will endeavour to help you. I can see my microphone creeping down into the shot here. Look at that. All right. Not to worry. All right. So hopefully that's of value. Values. Set your values first, then go about setting goals. And give me a shout if you need help with any of this stuff. Okay, that's all I've got for tonight. Have a good weekend. And I'll see you next week, perhaps. Okay. Good luck for now.